Hi, this is Alex with Zeta Sky. In this how-to training video, I'm going to show you the difference between files in Teams, OneDrive, and SharePoint. Spoiler alert, there is no difference, they're all the same file. So basically what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to demonstrate the fact that if you see a file in Teams, SharePoint, or OneDrive, it is the same file. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to open up all three. And in all three, I have Demo Team 2 General Channel. You can see that at the top of the Finder window. In Windows, it'd be File Explorer. At Teams, if you point at this, you can see Demo Team 2 General Channel. And in SharePoint, I'm in Demo Team 2 General Channel. So I'm in the same exact place in all three, and there are no files here. So let's create a file. Let's say put a Word document in here, and let's say this is an important document. There we go. If we close this, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page, it shows up here as document. Now, I didn't necessarily have to refresh the page here. SharePoint does occasionally update itself, but it's not super fast. So if you ever expect a file to show up that's not there, or expect a change to show up that's not there, you can refresh your tab here, and it will update the files. Teams does not automatically update on its own currently. So if you want to see updated data, you need to click this refresh button up in the top right here. So we click on that. Now you can see that same document shows up here. Now just to make sure, let me click on this, make sure it has the same data in it. This is an important document. Yep, same data. And you may have also noticed while we're looking at these other ones, it just showed up here in my Finder window. Again, in Windows, this would be File Explorer, where you look at all of your files. I'm going to go ahead and open up this file, and you'll notice because this is in the File Explorer, essentially it's opening up in Word, and it's actually opening up the Word application, and it says the same exact thing. This is an important document. This is the same file. So now I'm writing in the full version of Word, not that little web version that you get in SharePoint or Teams. This is the full-fledged version of Word. You have all the features up here. It's the same Word that you're used to. If I zoom in here, you'll be able to see the new text here. Now, I already saved it. I'm going to close it. And what this is going to do, OneDrive is going to sync the changes to the cloud. And then once it syncs the changes to the cloud, that same content will be available in Teams and SharePoint. So if I hit refresh on Teams here, let me click on it. Make sure that it's changed. Yep, this is the same file. So I just put that in Word, but I still see it in Teams. This document .docx file here is the same in all three. And in SharePoint, just to hammer home the point here, you can see this is the same file. So the easiest, there are differences, but from an end user perspective, the easiest way to look at all of these are just different ways of accessing your files. If you prefer working completely in Teams, you have this option where you can just go to the Files tab. If you prefer working in your native operating system environment, whether it's Finder in Mac OS or File Explorer in Windows, and it also integrates, because it uses the native parts of the operating system, this is visible in other applications, which can be helpful if you need to save data from an application to the cloud. You're going to use OneDrive for that. Otherwise, you have to save it somewhere, then drag it into Teams. That's an extra step you don't need to do. So OneDrive can be really helpful for that. So you may even find that you use different methods just depending on what type of work you're doing. So if maybe maybe you just need to make a quick edit to this document and you're already in the team. You just need to go to the Files section, click on the document real quick, get a basic editing window going, and just make an update real quick, and then just close it. You're not doing anything fancy, so you can just edit it real quick, and it'll just sync it everywhere. And that'll be a faster process. But let's say you're working on a complicated Excel document. The features and performance of the web version that you'll get with Teams or SharePoint is not as good. Now, in Teams, you can also open it up in a desktop app so that you can use the full feature set. So if you have that issue in either of them, really, you have options of opening it up in the local desktop application. But a lot of times in that case, just because you're more used to the experience of working in Finder or File Explorer, you may find that it's easier to do some of the more intensive stuff in File Explorer or Finder. And so, let's say this was a complicated Excel document instead of a Word document, you may want to open it up in the full version of Word and, just start typing your updates here. The more complicated work, go ahead and save and close it. If you're in Teams, if you select the file here, you can select Open in App. That way, go and click Grant Access if you get that. This is a Mac-specific thing, so you probably won't get that in Windows. It'll pop up in Word, the full version of Word, even though you open up from Teams. So you don't, if you're already in Teams, you don't necessarily have to open up a Finder window to get into the full Word version. Even though when you click on the file, it defaults to that web version, you don't necessarily have to do that. And it's the same thing on SharePoint here. Open an app. If you have some browser security that you haven't allowed yet, it'll pop up. You just tell it to allow it to open, and it opens up in the full version of Word. So you really have a lot of flexibility in how you access your files. I believe that most people will find using Finder and File Explorer the most familiar, so you may find that the easiest. Whereas Teams becomes really handy if you're, especially if you're collaborating on something, or if you're working on a specific project, you may just be in that one specific team communicating and switching to files and bouncing back and forth. Maybe that's a better workflow. SharePoint, for the most part, acts as the back-end storage. You can go through SharePoint and use the files, and it could potentially be handy if you're on a computer that doesn't have OneDrive or Teams installed. But there's also web versions of OneDrive and Teams where you can access the same data. So SharePoint, I would say the user interface isn't as friendly, so probably most people wouldn't be using it a ton. I suspect most people will find themselves in File Explorer, Finder, or Teams. But if you have any questions, please let us know.